Lizzie and I actually, we serve in the same mission.
The rules don't give you the answer to everything.
Yeah, if you have a dream and then you just believe it's already happened in your life.
Sick. Austin, thank you so much for being on Release the Podcast. It's been a long time coming, but we're doing it. And so, yeah, thanks for being on.
Of course.
Well, without further ado, let's just jump into who you are, how you grew up, and why you wanted to go on a mission in the first place.
Perfect. Yeah, so I was born in Sandy, Murray area. So my parents lived there for about 3 years. And I just remember from like really young, like reading the Book of Mormon, or at least listening to the Book of Mormon on like the old like children's Book of Mormon stories. Yeah, those were so sick.
Yeah.
And they've updated them now. So like the illustrations are a lot more interesting.
Nice.
So kind of cool to see that progress.
The war chapters are pretty dope.
Oh, yeah.
I bet.
The swords and like all the helmets and
armor.
Stuff. Yeah.
No gore.
No, got to keep it clean.
Yeah.
You know, we were trying to fill spirit
when you're with your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to be clean.
Yeah, but I'd listen to these stories of the Book of Mormon and hear about like the epic adventures of like Teancum or like Ammon or Nephi. And like I really looked up to those guys as role models. Moroni even too, specifically Captain Moroni. And so, yeah, I grew up in Utah, and then my parents moved to Missouri, where my dad went to chiropractic school, and then we moved to Tennessee. So I got kind of like 8 to 10 years inside Utah, got that experience, and then 8 to 10 years outside of Utah, which was kind of cool too. I remember being on the school bus and one of my friends being like, dude, like, that's a super cool ring. Like, what does that mean? Like, Christ the Rock? And I was like, frick, yeah, it's Christ the Rock, dude.
Christ
my little CTR ring. And so growing up in Utah, but also like in the Bible Belt in the South was kind of fun that Midwest. There's a lot of really good Christians and people who love Christ and want to follow him. So I had the ability to be around people in my same faith, but then also people who weren't of the exact same faith or denomination, at least, and being able to share some of my beliefs. So kind of got to be a little missionary from a young age, which was cool.
That is sick. Any experiences that stick out to you the most, that kind of formed you and made you appreciate living in a place that didn't have a ton of LDS kids?
I think 2 things were interesting. One was my parents taught me, and this was more of just our household was trying to keep the Sabbath day holy. And that's kind of evolved as I've gotten older and had more perspective. But one thing for my parents was like, we don't go outside and play with friends.
Yeah.
We still go and like hang out with people or like write cards or give out treats or visit family. But it wasn't like we're getting all sweaty running around playing basketball or anything.
Yeah.
So I remember one day, one of my buddies came over and he's like, hey dude, like we're getting all the guys together, let's go play ball. And I was like, yeah, that'd be sick. So I like, hey mom, I'm gonna be right back, I'm gonna go play basketball. And she was like, hey, like remember what day it is? And I was like, oh, it's Sunday. And I was like, dang it. It's like, hey dude, I don't play basketball on Sundays, but you guys have fun. So that was kind of an interesting way. And who's to say that basketball is good or bad on Sunday, but that was just a way to remember, hey, like this is the Lord's day. How can I make it specific for him?
Yeah.
And maybe in some instances that would be appropriate, but that was a small thing. People asking me like, hey, why don't you drink Coke? And I was like, well, I could drink Coke, but I'm like really young, so I'm probably not going to be drinking caffeine or anything right now, but trying to explain like the word of wisdom to other people who really love their coffee or, love drinking at like the cul-de-sac parties and stuff.
So you got good at these conversations way before the mission, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us Utah missionaries are just like, just give up coffee.
Yeah, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So at least I got a little bit of the outside of Utah experience where I knew where these people were coming from. I knew that there was a lot of good Christian people that wanted to follow Christ, that had different perspectives, different places where they grew up. And so even on my mission, even though I left from Utah for my mission, I would tell people that I was, from Tennessee because I lived outside of Utah for so long. I wanted to give them a different perspective than just, oh, here's some white, elder from Utah that doesn't know anything. Hopefully to say like, hey, like I may understand more of what you're going through because I didn't just come out of some factory in Provo.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. That's great.
yeah.
So you put in your papers what year?
Put in my papers, I think it was 2017, end of 2017.
Okay.
Birthday's in January, and then I
Oh yeah, that's when
left.
I met you.
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah, we
Crazy.
met. Our parents were in a business together. We're in
Mm-hmm.
business together, and I met Tal like right before my mission. And you had just got back from Scotland, Ireland. I was
Yeah,
like, "That's
so
so
fun.
sick, foreign,
Yeah.
mission." You spoke
I spoke English.
English,
Yeah.
yeah, but the accents were crazy.
Accents were crazy.
Yeah.
Picked up a couple phrases in Portuguese and Chinese.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah,
I heard Dublin's like I had a friend who served in the same mission, and Dublin was like a melting pot. So many
tons
different
of
people.
yeah, tons of Brazilians,
Hmm.
like loads. Um, Almost more than there are Irish people,
Just
actually.
crazy,
Yeah, it's crazy.
of all places.
So you got your call,
Hmm.
and where were you called?
So I got my call. I was called to the Nebraska Omaha mission. We called it NOM. So
No,
back
nice.
in NOM.
That's
Kind of a
sick.
funny phrase that we had. If you're from the NOM mission, you know.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed. I knew I wasn't going to go internationally because of how I filled out my papers. I knew there was a couple things that would bar me from international service,
Mm,
just some personal health choices that I chose to make. But I was excited to serve in the United States. I thought Tennessee would be kind of cool to go back to the Bible Belt.
yeah.
East Coast would be interesting. I've never, had never lived out there at that point. Or maybe West Coast would be cool too. And it was Nebraska, smack dab in the middle of the United States. And I was
You're
low
like,
key a little disappointed. I wasn't maybe as hyped as someone else being called to somewhere they wanted to be.
mm-hmm.
But very quickly, I felt that it was where I needed to go. And I felt excited about it. I knew that there was going to be people or experiences I was going to have there that would be worth it, worth
Yeah.
maybe serving somewhere that wasn't as exciting. And it
Mm-hmm.
ended up being exactly that.
That's awesome. Dang. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that mission. Any transformative moment that you might have had while on the mission, whether that was like somebody in the street that said something to you, a convert, your mission president, whatever it was.
Hmm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so for the mission, I reported to the MTC. This was way before COVID, and so I got to have those 3 weeks of experience. I was really obsessed with Iceland, still am,
Yeah.
and they were flying the Iceland flag at the MTC, which means that there's someone serving in that mission who's going to go to that mission.
Yeah.
So I tracked down the elder. He was there for 9 weeks learning
Oh my
Icelandic.
gosh.
So I followed his mission, which was really cool. It was fun to be in that experience, seeing all these missionaries dedicated, excited to serve, learning different languages. And so I went out with about 3 or 4 other elders and a couple sisters. So we got to Nebraska, got to meet our mission president, which we had for one transfer. Then they switched mission presidents. So that was kind of interesting. And then started serving in kind of a more boony area out in the sticks, and also got the city experience too.
Mm-hmm.
But from all those areas I served in and from all the people, the companions that I had, I think the biggest thing that I learned was compassion and empathy for people. I learned that people are more important than things, than schedules, than analytics, than numbers. I was very much the kind of person who was strict with the schedule. I
Mm.
loved waking up at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I loved going to bed at a good time. I loved having a schedule.
5
So
a.m. as
for
a
me,
missionary?
no, before the mission. So sleeping into
Holy
6:30 was like it was a
easy.
vacation for me
Yeah.
almost.
Dang.
I
That's
kept myself
nuts.
very strict. Maybe I was one of the
Are you
elders.
a morning person?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah, I wake up at night,
Yeah,
and so yeah,
that makes
morning's
sense.
tough.
I don't
Dang.
know, kind of weird like that. So that aspect was not hard for me. I found a
Mm-hmm.
lot of joy in that. I felt a lot of peace, but I had companions who lived differently. Probably someone like you, they didn't like waking up early, loved
Yeah.
staying up late. Um, or for other people that maybe struggle with schedules or following very strict rules. I mean, being religious is more of a strict lifestyle in general.
Yeah.
And then you add on top of it missionary service where you're representing an organization, a church. And that was tough for a lot of my companions. There was things that was difficult for me too, but I had to learn that I'm not here to be a perfect person. I'm not here to flex on numbers or on people that I helped. It was more of how can I become a friend to those that
Mhm.
I'm serving? How can I be a support, a good companion to those that I was working with? And some of the hardest companions have ended up becoming some of my best friends because of those experiences we went together.
Dang.
And realizing that when I let go of what I wanted, what Elder Brady wanted, and realized, okay, what does God want? How can I help people? Then that's helped a lot. And that's helped in my life now, realizing when I did summer sales, when I'm doing content online, rather than thinking, how can I make myself look cool or how can I get big numbers, analytics?
Mhm.
How can I focus on connecting with someone, finding and value that they need, giving them that value? I've seen immense success. So that was kind of a
Yeah,
cool way to learn a good life principle, but then also a business, a social, a friendship principle too.
totally. It's just like that Thomas S. Monson quote where he says, "Never let a problem to be solved become more important than a person to be served." Um,
You always have the best quotes.
oh, thanks.
Summed it all
Well,
up.
I just remember the good ones, and President Monson had a lot of them.
He
He's a
did.
stud. But it's so true. As soon as you let red tape, regimen, or structure become more important than somebody's need,
Hmm.
then what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of serving a mission if you're not serving the people in that mission?
Yeah.
And that includes the investigators, the companions, the church members,
Hmm.
all of them. And so, yeah, that is probably one of the best lessons you could have learned while on the mission.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Is there a specific instance that might have like would drive that point home, kind of like maybe you were one way, you were a little too strict, and then you had a moment where you're like, dang, I need to forget this rule and help
Hmm.
this person out.
There were so many experiences. It was fun because I think the Lord was really trying to humble me.
Mm,
I went on my mission and I had the opportunity to be trained by an amazing elder, Elder DeRocher. He was the best trainer you could imagine. Then had the opportunity to help train um,
right after?
right after, twice right after,
Dang.
which was crazy. I didn't feel very adequate for that. And we had immense success. My first training, I had immense success. I was feeling really good. I was like, okay, I got this missionary thing like on lockdown. Like
Yeah.
we're just gonna cruise. We got this. Second trainee was way more difficult. We saw way less success. It was a new area, and I was really focusing on like numbers and how can we be strict on our schedule. And then after that, I had 6 months, so two companions back to back. They were in very similar circumstances. They were both 3 months away from going home, and I had them for 2 months each.
Dang.
They both were really obsessed with
Trunky.
sisters in the mission.
Oh,
They
dang.
loved,
Those mission
I know, I
romances.
know. They they loved, casually shopping. They loved maybe being a little more lax with the rules. They really enjoyed just doing things that weren't like super strict. Some of that was maybe more disobedient. A lot of it wasn't. It was just more of a lackadaisical style. And I'm very much like scheduled to the T, like every 15 to 30 minutes, maybe not 15, but 30 minutes was like scheduled like, okay,
Yeah.
comp study, personal study, proselyting, knocking doors, lessons, member dinner, keeping member dinner short, like all this stuff. Because that's how I felt like I was being productive. It's how I felt like I was
Yeah.
being obedient. And there was one time where my companion, he was like, hey, I know you want to go knock doors because that's what we should be doing according to scheduling, but we have a new member and they were married to a member who's becoming more active.
Mm.
So part member family he just gotten baptized and they want to watch the Passion of the Christ with
Mm.
us. I was like, we're hanging out with members. We're watching a rated R movie. And we're just
Yeah.
sitting around like sacks. That was a big thing in my mission was being a sack,
Being a
was
sack.
just sitting around.
That's
Like what
so
do
funny.
sacks do? They just sit. So they call
Yeah.
people sacks. And I was like, what are we doing? Like that's not what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
And we went I ended up caving. I had to pick my battles, I guess. We went over there, watched Passion of the Christ. Highly recommend that movie. Really
Hmm.
good. Definitely violent.
I've only seen the crucifixion
Yeah.
scene.
Oh, brutal.
Brutal. Holy
And
cow.
that's just the crucifixion. Imagine what Christ experienced with
Yeah,
the atonement.
seriously.
Yeah.
And I saw little evil baby Satan too.
Yes.
That was weird.
Yeah, Satan in that movie is a little off. I
Yes.
don't like that.
Yeah.
They could cut him
Very
out and the rest
creepy.
would be pretty good, but
Yeah.
so we're watching this movie, really good. I wouldn't say it was spiritual, but I felt very emotional. It was a very interesting experience to be able to see what that was like. But then also be there for these members. Like, why would we go knock and potentially get rejected all evening? Whereas, and we could work and love and support this new couple who had one of them had just gotten baptized, the other spouse was getting reactivated. Show them we care about them, help integrate them with the ward,
Mm-hmm.
and not be so stickler about those things.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Maybe if my mission president watches this, he's like, Elder Brady, that was not what you're supposed to
What the
do.
heck, man?
But in the moment and afterwards, I feel like, you know what? That was a really pivotal moment, probably because it was just so shocking of what a contrast.
Yeah.
I realized that those people and my companion were more important to love, to serve, to be empathetic towards, to be more relaxed than trying to just follow a schedule and just cut things off.
Yeah.
Because in certain moments, you need to just follow what the Spirit directs or what you just feel may be the more humane and interpersonal than
Yeah.
just finding a schedule and being like, hey, schedule says this, just go do that.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. This is actually a really interesting theme that's been brought up in this podcast several times now, because I was very much like a stickler, I guess. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I stuck to the schedule. I was a hard worker. If my companion that was a sack, we called them wasters in my
Wasters.
mission.
Every mission's probably got their own
Yeah.
phrase.
If he wanted to do something like lazy,
Mm-hmm.
then I would kind of like fight back. Um, but it is such a interesting topic because we all know obedience is good.
Of course.
It actually does get a bad rap a lot of times, but there are times when the rules aren't the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be obedient enough, close to the Spirit enough
To know when.
the rules don't give you the answer to everything.
Yeah.
And so going over, spending time with new member, coming back to church, a spouse, and your companion that might be just needing it
Mm-hmm.
is the right thing to do.
And I think I would add, like, of course, it was a rated R movie, but it was literally about Christ.
Yeah, it's about
And
Jesus.
so that's probably a way better thing than maybe watching some other rated R film
Yeah.
or other film, no matter what the rating,
Yeah.
because, and this is something that we talk about a lot is like the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. I think almost just understanding, like, be intentional,
Yeah.
right? If your time is just to knock doors and knock doors, that's not intentional.
Yeah.
If you're going to go be with a member and help bring the Spirit, hopefully help one of their friends, help teach the gospel, our purpose is to bring people, invite people to come into Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can invite someone to come into Christ by helping them have a transformative experience watching a film, great.
Yeah. Huge. Your mission is coming to an end.
Correct.
You're getting ready to go home. Tell us about what you were expecting and what ended up happening.
Yeah. I think this is going to be true for every missionary. Expectations will always be completely different than reality. For me, again, God has great humor. It couldn't be further from my expectations. So I left in May of 2018, and it was interesting because the plaque that they made for me said I was coming home in April of 2020. And my parents were like, that's weird because that's not 2 years. Well, when did I come home? April of 2020. So I had to come home
Interesting.
6 weeks early because that was when the world was shutting down and the church was saying, hey, anyone who's over, I think it's like 21 or 23 months or whatever, needs to be sent home so we can make room for this influx of missionaries who were from the United States that were serving foreign missions.
Yeah. Dang.
So in our mission, we have a tradition of sharing your like final testimony. Everyone going home at transfer got to go up in zone conference, share their testimony. Well, there was no zone conference, no testimony. You're
Yeah.
supposed to have an exit interview where you talk with your mission president, talk about girls, talk about college, like all the fun things coming up.
Yeah.
No interview.
Dang.
We literally
Were you
just,
bummed?
oh, I was super
Oh,
bummed. I was
man.
tight with my mission president. I loved
Yeah.
him, respected him a lot. And yeah, President Ents was awesome. So I didn't get that. We're just sitting around. We can't do any of the normal activities like go to the temple, go to
Mm.
the trail center. We had a visitor center in our mission
Mm.
next to the temple. We couldn't really play games or hang out. There really wasn't anything else to do besides watch like church movies, I guess.
Yeah, The District, the Testaments.
District, Testaments, Fighting Preacher,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Great films.
Mhm.
So I was like, man, this is interesting. And then they put us up in a hotel before we went because we had to kind of be separated, quarantined from everybody. So we're sitting in the hotel room, and our mission president gave us permission to watch a movie because he's like, there's nothing else to do. So we
Yeah.
watched Blind Side. I was like, man, I'm
Another great film.
so disobedient watching a non-church movie, but
Even though President told you could.
yeah, he said we could, and it's Blind Side. Like, it's such a great film.
It's
Yeah.
great.
So I'm like, man, this whole thing is not what I expected. And then come to find out that you couldn't have anyone at the airport besides your parents. No siblings, no friends. My former mission president normally visits his missionaries when they come home. He couldn't come.
Dang.
And I literally felt like it was straight out of the RM because I
Yeah.
roll up, everyone else's families are there, and my parents are chronically late to everything.
Oh, no.
They're like, we tried to get there on time, but we're 30 minutes late, and your like plane was 15 minutes early. So I'm
Oh,
sitting on my
dang.
luggage for like,
You walk out like this.
yeah, like, what's up, guys?
Dang it.
So I'm sitting there seeing everyone else get their hugs, and I'm just like, cool, well, welcome to life at home. So they pick me up, drive me the 2 hours back to where we lived in Cache Valley. Finally get to see my siblings. They had signs made for me, but they weren't there. So I'm like looking at the signs in the van, like, cool guys, thank you. Couldn't meet with my or my stake president, so he released me over the phone.
That's weird.
Didn't get a talk in church as a homecoming talk. Didn't see any of my friends because I was like one of the oldest of my friends. So they're all in missions or just quarantined somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I didn't serve a mission for this, but it's kind of a cherry on top to be like, congrats.
Yeah. It gives you closure.
Yeah, closure especially.
Yeah.
And no missionary special. Don't expect everyone to like cheer you on when you get home. You're one of thousands of missionaries. But it's nice to feel a little appreciated.
It feels nice to feel like the hero.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we treat missionaries like heroes when they leave. You want to feel that way when you come home. And it is tough. 2 years is tough. 1.5 years is tough. Or however long you serve. So that was a big change. And then after that, it was like, well, church is masked up, quarantined. People are using like crazy sanitization. And so it was very odd coming home to like a completely different world where church is different. I was planning on moving out like immediately. I didn't know if I was going to go to college or just do work, but I was like, man, things are kind of on unstable footing. So moved back home basically, and didn't know what was really going to happen. So I was feeling like, dang, I wanted to come home, hit up college or hit up work, move out, get roommates, start dating, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't places to go meet girls, to go hang out with friends. So it felt very lonely, I feel like.
That would be so lonely. And church, was your ward meeting or were they quarantining?
It depended on the week. I had my home ward. I didn't even think I went to my home ward when I got back because they weren't meeting, but I think some YSA wards were meeting. So I went to my local stake YSA, and then I also went to a college YSA up at USU.
Oh, nice.
With some friends.
Just kind of switch off.
Yeah, we'd have come follow me sessions afterwards as things started easing up, which was good.
That's good.
So.
Dang, yeah. Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I always felt bad for the missionaries coming home around that time or having to get sent home around that time just because I'm like, it's not what everybody's dreaming of.
No.
Because people dream when they're coming home. That's part of the big trunkiness
It is. Either you're
I
thinking
have.
about how cool that will be, or you're trying not to think about it. But
Yeah,
it's like kind of a reward for the end of staying strong, hopefully.
totally.
Yeah,
Um, Here's my question. You're married now.
I am.
How did that happen?
Bro, I didn't even know.
Dude. And she seems so cool. She
Lizzie is
is so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah. So Lizzie and I actually we served in the same mission. So that's how it happened.
Mm.
Um, kissing on P days.
Mission
No, I'm
romance,
just kidding, bro.
baby.
The interesting thing about that, and I think the God like directed that, or at least helped with that in some way, because I'm someone who kept my heart locked but my eyes open. Of course, I was talking to sisters, maybe soft flirting with sisters, that type of thing, making friends, getting emails, but I was trying to stay focused. And so there was nothing, I was never in a situation where I was like distracted by
Yeah.
sisters, which is, I'm grateful for that. Although meeting Lizzie on the mission, because I served with her and around her, and she was dating somebody at the time,
Mm.
writing them. And because of my attitude, like we never really talked a ton. There was never any
Yeah.
like conversation or like strong friendship. And so I was just my goofy self, just
Mm.
goofy elder Brady doing my thing, sharing my political beliefs, my religious beliefs, my health beliefs, my educational beliefs.
Yeah.
If there's something mainstream, I probably disagree with it. I'm probably the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So she got to see how crazy I was, and she still liked it. And the cool thing is she served in the same area, started her mission, the same area I started my mission.
Dang, that's sick.
And we had a lot of success and loved the members and had a lot of great opportunities there. And so everyone was just talking about, man, we haven't had sisters in 20 years. It was all elders, and some of them were good, some of them weren't. But Elder Brady, man, we just loved Elder Brady.
That's so
Members
sick.
were hyping me up.
Yeah.
So she was like, who's this Elder Brady? Didn't even realize it was her zone leader at the time.
Yeah.
And then we finally met, but we served around each other. I think I was in the same zone as her for 5 transfers, her first 5 transfers. So she
That's
talked to her, she talked to her companion, and she's like, man, I see you and Elder Brady together. I don't know what it is. You remind me of each other. So she finally got courage up to hand me a sticky note, and then she chickened out. And I was being transferred up to Minnesota from Lincoln, Nebraska, which is
uh-huh.
forever away. And so her companion's like, no, you have to do this. And she grabs the sticky note. She's like, Elder Brady, come back. We have a referral for you. And I was like, oh, sick. We're going to go baptize his family or like serve them
Oh,
somehow.
that's so
And I get
funny.
this sticky note and they like squeal out of there. It's like drive their car out. I open up a sticky note. It was like, Eloyd at missionary.org. I was like, hey, I just got a referral, boys. So
Oh
when I
man.
went home, I emailed her. And so there was no romantic or flirting or interest on the mission. I'm so grateful for that because I probably would have beat myself up over that,
Yeah.
being the really strict and sometimes pharisaical missionary that I was. That's what we'd
Mm.
call it.
Very suitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we wrote for 8 or 9 months, and she got home and we started dating.
So she stayed out there when COVID hit.
She did 9 months, bro. It was rough. Half her mission.
And did she get back home and you guys started dating right away?
That wasn't the plan. I was like, when you get home, like we're just friends. She like was kind of flirting in email, but I was like, no, like we're just friends. Like we
Yeah.
need to actually see who each other are as people, not just missionaries. Because your personality kind of changes a little bit on the mission versus off the mission.
Yeah. Totally.
So, but I went to her homecoming. Her mom and sister were like obsessed with me. They were like following me on socials, inviting me down to stuff. So I like
That's so
had already
great.
met
Get
like
in with the family.
2 or 3 of her sisters and her mom like right off the bat.
Yeah.
Just kind of weird.
Dude, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, your views, I want to hear what your thoughts are on those mission romances and stuff
Yeah.
because they're very discouraged, but
They are.
now and then they work out. Well, not that you guys had a romance on the mission,
No, but
but I
yeah,
wanted to,
missionaries meet up afterwards.
yeah.
I don't know. I was just at a mission reunion. My original mission president, Chad Gardner, it was like between, I don't want to get it wrong, it was like 40 to 60 couples over the 3 years that he served. And I
Dang.
know at least 20 from my friends.
Oh my
Like, the
gosh.
Nebraska Omaha mission is a
That
breeding
has to
ground
be a
for
record.
oh,
I've never heard of that.
it was everyone was getting married in that mission.
Holy crap.
And some were definitely on mission friendships and flirting and
Mm,
conversations, and you kind of do like, I don't know about Eller and sister so and so, like they're probably gonna get married afterwards.
yeah.
I'm biased because it was that's how I met my wife.
Yeah, it worked out.
It did. I think too many people.
Were there a lot of bad situations though?
There were some that were less than good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nothing crazy like
That's good.
Africa like stories I hear from
Dude, the
foreign
missions
missions.
in Africa. Holy crap.
There was no hanky panky anything going on or like that.
That's good.
Yeah, it
That's
was
good.
all above bar
Yeah.
as far as I know. I don't know, dude. I think I'm biased, but I would say that a lot of people want to, if they're a member of the church and they want to continue staying strong in the gospel, they're encouraged to find someone who's also a member. Um, Especially missionaries. A lot of girls are encouraged marry an RM.
hmm
And now that there's a lot of sisters who go out and serve, a lot of guys are looking for returned sister missionaries. Just because you served a mission doesn't mean anything. We both
Yeah.
know missionaries who made it and weren't dedicated, weren't maybe as compatible as you think they would. So I think it's
Mhm.
important to recognize that although if you're trying to find a spouse that has similar values, maybe going to a college that upholds those values, serving a mission where you can find people who are also dedicatedly serving is important, but more so than just finding a returned missionary, finding someone who's dedicated to the gospel, whether they've served or not,
Yeah.
is way more important. So I highly recommend if someone is serving a mission or knows some cool people from their mission, like you have so much in common, so many stories, so many experiences, spiritual experiences that you can connect with.
Mhm.
And I know a ton of really solid couples that have come out of my mission and other missions, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
But
And it makes it easy to go back and visit the mission.
oh, it does. If
Yeah.
we're driving through Nebraska, it's not boring like
Yeah.
most people. We're like, remember so and so, remember
Nebraska.
this experience?
Especially since you guys had the same first area.
We did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we actually weird full circle. We're driving out to do sales in Boston, and we both stayed and slept at a member's house that we had
Nice.
both served around. And I was like, man, this is kind of weird
Crazy.
sleeping in the same bed as a sister missionary that I served the mission with.
That is hilarious.
A little odd.
Yeah, that is so funny.
But hey, sometimes crazy things happen.
Crazy things happen.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of life.
It is.
Dang.
So yeah, highly recommend marrying someone from your mission if you find someone that's dedicated.
Mhm.
But definitely don't recommend getting distracted on the mission.
Yeah, don't go out for that reason.
A lot of sisters did. They were
lot of
the only
sisters
reason they were out there is because they're like, I want to find an elder.
Mhm.
Good for you, but maybe serve the Lord.
Yeah, serve the Lord. It'll be more
First.
likely that you'll find an elder if you serve the Lord
I
and have
think
that
so.
be your focus.
Exactly.
It's kind of like I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of like an ever elusive goal. Whenever you're trying to reach it, it doesn't happen. But
Yeah.
as soon as you let go and
Let go,
you
let God.
let go, let God.
Hmm.
I've actually never heard that.
Really?
Yeah, but it sounds like a good
Let
phrase.
go, let God. No, don't quote me. It's from someone else.
Yeah,
It's a good one, though.
that's a good phrase. But as soon as you do that and you start focusing on the right things,
Hmm.
the blessings will come.
Yeah.
And so I forgot there's an example of a guy who had a stutter and he was trying to get on this bus to and he was trying to get on the bus for free. And so he went up to the bus driver and said, "Hey, can I get on the bus for free? I have a stutter." But he said it perfectly. And he's like, "What the heck?" He's like, "No, I promise you, I have a stutter." And he said it perfectly again.
Wow.
And then he realized when he was trying to convince people he had a stutter,
He did.
He
have
didn't.
one.
but
Interesting.
every other time he did.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Maybe it's just your brain does that. But
Yeah.
also just like goals in general, if you have good intention behind the goals, if they're the right goals, God wants to bless you.
Yeah, he
And
does.
so he's going to. And that's what happened with you. You found an amazing sister missionary.
Mhm.
And then after the mission, after you were done serving him and focusing on him,
Yeah.
the opportunity opened up.
Yeah.
And you guys are a great couple.
I was, like, almost sure it was someone I knew from before the mission or someone I would meet, like, in college. I did not expect
Yeah.
meeting someone in the mission.
Yeah.
The interesting thing with that in mind, with goals in general, and I've done this, and this could be a whole podcast episode, the topic of just writing down what you want and then focusing on what you can do to become like that person who would be able to receive that.
Yeah.
But every single girl I dated or knew in high school, friends I had in high school, I was always like writing down notes, evaluating people. Even on the mission, you're living with these companions. And so you have a lot of friction of just like living with someone. So you figure out like what are
Yeah.
some personality traits, what are some behaviors you like or
Or,
maybe
or
don't
don't
like.
like.
Yeah. And then girls I dated after the mission too. Because as soon as I got home, I wasn't waiting around for Lizzie. I was
Yeah.
like dating like crazy to meet a lot of different people, to make some friends, to be able to understand who I liked and who I needed to become to be prepared for marriage.
Yeah.
Um, and as I was writing down this list, I was like, hey, and it was specific. Highly recommend whatever you want, write down exact details. So I'm like, height, ethnicity, nationality, religion,
Mm.
attributes, family attributes. You marry their family just as much as you
Yeah.
marry the person. So I had like exactly what I wanted locked down, written all the way out. And then I was like, hey, now instead of like hyper focusing on comparing every girl to this list, I'm just going to leave that for God to be able to help me with. Now, who would I need to become to attract that caliber of woman? Because it was a lot. And I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm in a position right now where I could maybe score a girl like that.
Mm.
And so as I was writing all these things down and becoming more like that person, then God had already pre-planned and pre-helped me find people who would be, because there's no soulmate,
Yeah.
but you can find amazing people who will be part of that.
Yeah.
And it happened to be Lizzie. And if the scary thing is, if you look at that original list, identical
Dang.
to who Lizzie is.
That's amazing. I actually have a question about goals. You are somebody, you're very passionate and very tenacious about a lot of things, but in terms of business
Mm-hmm.
and education, did you do the same thing? Write out your goals of who you wanted to become,
Mm-hmm.
what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
what opportunities you wanted to come your way.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
So I haven't gone to college, probably will never go to college. I knew from a young age I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to do photography for a while. Then that moved into videography and filmmaking. But as soon as I got home from the mission, I was like, hey, like I'm doing video. So how do I need to learn video editing software? I need to get myself a camera. So I have old vision boards where I have the exact camera, the lens, the mic setup, like everything I wanted or needed. I remembered Full Time Filmmaker back when I saw that in high school. So I went and purchased that and started seeing like
Yeah.
all these creators. And so in business and in career, like I have exactly what I want. Earlier this year, this is really cool. I should show a screenshot of this, but I had, okay, I want to partner with these specific brands. I want to work with these specific people. I want to become like these specific people. These are the social goals I want to have. And halfway through the year, I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even close. These were like massive goals. I
Yeah.
wasn't even close to them at the beginning of the year. And at the end, and now it's like October. And I'm working with Film Lab, partnering with Film Lab. I wasn't working with Film Lab in January, February.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
no opportunity. I was like, I'm going to work with Mitchell Thane, Thane Brothers, and Film Lab, and now we're here.
Yeah.
I'm going to partner with Onset Black. I have no idea how. Now I've done at least 3 or 4 different partnerships with them.
Crazy.
Had no really connections. Love the brand, want to do something with them. I wanted to have X amount of subscribers. I had like 600. And then with a matter of a couple weeks, it blew up to like 2,600 now. And I want to hit 5K by the end of the year is my new goal. It was 1,000. And I think I will.
Yeah.
Like people are just coming in and subscribing. Same with Instagram. Like, if you put those things out there and then you actually do the work, you do the key factors that would contribute towards that, but then just trust God's going to take care of you,
Mhm.
He's going to do that.
Amazing.
So I was shook at the money that was coming in, at the social proof that was coming in, the partners, the friendships. And so it's like, man, maybe I should dream even bigger. Like halfway through
Yeah.
the year, reevaluate. It's like, hey, now I want to connect with these people and work with these different experiences.
Yeah.
Never would have thought we would have worked with the Jazz
Yeah.
or like all these massive brands, Mr. Beast,
Insane.
you know,
Yeah.
all these things. And now we have, which is so cool.
Yeah. Dude, the big dreaming is, I think it was just this morning. It was in the shower this morning, actually.
Shower thoughts are the best
Shower
thoughts.
thoughts are the best. Because I suffer from a lot of self-doubt, talking negatively about myself, and just I have a lot of big dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and then something in my brain immediately like craps
Pessimistic
on 'em.
thoughts.
Yeah. And I'm just
Like, you think you can have that?
it's like there's better people than you. Um, and so, but this morning I was thinking about it, and I was just like, why, why can't I be bringing in $30,000, $60,000 in revenue into the podcast department
Mm-hmm.
per month?
There's no reason why you can't.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why can't I build the biggest and highest quality podcast conglomerate in Utah
Mm-hmm.
and work with the best podcasts? I freaking did an episode with Mr. Beast, like you were saying.
Mr.
The
Beast,
Mr. Beast.
Jimmy Donaldson.
Jimmy Donaldson. And so it was really cool. And it's just funny because we're talking about it now, and you have been somebody that I actually look up to a lot in that area. You have belief, you have passion, you write it down, and it happens. Mitchell told me about when you reached out to him.
Mm-hmm.
First, you're like, hey, I'm wanting to get into this. What should I do?
Yep.
And Mitchell gave you a little list, and then you went and did it. You actually
Well, yeah.
did it. Most people just ask, and then they're like,
True.
oh, Mitchell didn't ask me to come like help him film something.
Mhm.
And then they get disappointed.
Yeah.
But you actually went and did it. And then you went back to Mitchell and said, okay, did it. A, B, C, and D.
What's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
And then he's like, sweet.
When's your next shoot? How can I be there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Kind of going back to intentionality,
Mhm.
the intentionality you had on your mission, whether it was to stick to the rules or to go and meet with the members and watch Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
Your intentionality now has translated to you meeting and working with awesome brands, with the people you want to work with, becoming the person you want to be, the cameras you want to have.
Mhm.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just major props
Well,
to you.
I really appreciate that. And it's kind of a full circle moment because when we met, you were like, yeah, I'm getting into video and like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Podcasting.
And then you shared Mitch's stuff. And this was back in Avenue Film Co. days.
Yeah.
And I was eating that stuff up, following you guys. And I was like, man, Tal's like the coolest guy.
That's nice.
And he's doing all these cool things. And I was like, it'd be so fun to work with Talmage and those guys in the future. And so for you to say that, I mean, I've looked up to you for so long. Coming back from my mission, like I was still following all your guys' stuff. And
when you got back home, April, that's when I started Released.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
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 I was like,
crazy.
whoa, like stuff's happened. This is so crazy. And yeah, if you have a dream and then you just believe
Yeah.
it's already happened in your life, act like it's already happening. If you want to be the biggest YouTuber, act like the biggest YouTuber.
Mhm.
If you want to be working with Mitchell Thane, work with Mitchell Thane.
Yeah.
If you want to have, whatever it is, money or relationships or objects, even things you want to purchase, already act like you have those things. Tell people you have those things. Because what could it hurt? You
Yeah.
know, you're only going to find the people you need to talk to, consume the media you need to have. And then it's going to happen in your life,
Mhm.
which is so cool. And God literally tells us that in the scriptures. He's like, ask and you shall receive. We don't ask though.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I can never have that.
Yeah.
Or, oh, maybe there's someone better than that. But when you shared and maybe that's just a gift that God has given me or I've developed with parents and friends that have been so supportive. When you're like, I could be the biggest podcasting, brand in Utah or pull in 30, 60, 100K a month.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why you can't do that. And I have 100% belief that you will. And this podcast is only going to get bigger and bless more lives.
I sure hope so.
Have way cooler guests than Austin Brady on.
Dude, you're freaking dope. What are you talking about?
It's going to grow and you're going to be able to have way more opportunity to bless people's lives because that's your intention, is to support people.
I really want to do that. And it's been such a blessing already in my life. Just interviewing people that have gone through what I've gone through and also who have found success and done great things gives me hope. I'm like, yeah,
I can do that. Yeah.
And so, like, honestly, doing this podcast, even selfishly, which not all of my intention is selfish, but part of it is
just like 1%,
because I gain so much from it. Just meeting with people and having an intentional conversation rather than just shooting the breeze, chatting. Yeah. And so, but dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast with me. It's been a bit since I've interviewed anybody. So thanks for making me get started again.
It's good. I love watching all the episodes. I love that you're starting it again and posting more consistently.
Yeah.
I feel like you go through these like ebbs and flows.
I do.
And it's okay not to be like every single week. I know podcasting world loves that, being consistent, but at least continually putting in the effort. I know people love this podcast. People listening right now, they love the new content. I'm always telling you, like, post more content on the socials, whether it's podcast or Instagram or those things. And I'm just excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too. So Austin, for the missionaries that are just coming home right now, what is the lesson you want to share with them?
I'd say focus on your expectations. Recognize that expectations kind of is the heart of disappointment. And so have healthy expectations. You're coming home off a spiritual high. You're not going to read your scriptures as much as you think you are. You're not going to watch the cleanest content that you think you are. It's going to be very different than the mission. And because things just happen and it's okay to make mistakes. Be careful, try not to make crazy mistakes, but recognize it's going to be okay as you go through this kind of like little slump period. It's like diving out of an airplane and you like hit that ground and you're like, whoa, that did not feel as happy and airy and spiritual as
those clouds
did. Yeah. And then but you do have to hit the ground running. I will say that. Go find either a college, a career, a hobby, something that you can grow in, develop in, track progress in, because that's what the mission did really well, was helping you focus on goals and be able to progress, continue to progress yourself. Date around, find some cuties, go on dates, meet some people. Don't stalk girls. If you're an elder,
that's weird.
Don't like try to put a ring on it immediately, and if you're a girl, also do that to guys too. I think getting married sooner than later is important, but everyone's journey is different. And just because one person does one thing doesn't mean you need to do that too. But I think continue your spiritual progression, your physical progression, just you as a person, develop yourself, find good people, whether it's a girlfriend, friends. Like one thing I did is I hit up one of my buddies, Owen Jenkins. It's like, hey, dude, I'm kind of missing that companionship study. Maybe we could do some FaceTimes or some Messenger, video calls and like, let's study scriptures together.
Sick.
Do some Come Follow Me. I had another buddy, Jared Larson and Jeremy Kilpack, and they were really good about doing Come Follow Me and talking about scriptures and that kind of stuff. So that's what I would suggest. Just hit the ground running. Don't have expectations so you don't falter, but don't have super high expectations that you just feel like a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a transitional period and it's going to be okay. So that's what I would say. And you're going to be fine. Life's different after the mission. It's not, you're not a missionary anymore. You can still teach and serve and bless in other ways. So whether it's ministering, serving in the temple, I need to do that way more than I do. Continue studying scriptures and prayer, and maybe study scriptures for someone else, maybe for you too, but like have questions.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did in the mission, was study for people or study for questions. And afterwards, I was just reading to read, and I
Yeah.
didn't feel as meaningful connection. So finding reasons to study
I like
is
that.
important.
That's good.
Yeah.
Dang, man. Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to get this episode out there.
When you had the worst kind of day, remember we